Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Nez Nation Live. I'm your host, Professor Nez, and we've got some bombshell news today. They have finally found and arrested the pipe bomb case perpetrator. This story is massive. It's one of the most mysterious, I would say, politically charged unsolved crimes from 2021. And the fact that the FBI just arrested somebody, it's just causing a complete atomic bomb on the political landscape. And I can't think of anybody better to bring on the show than my great friend, Stephen Gardner, who I have recently just been having such a kick with. I've been watching his show forever, and he is one of the best out there, has amassed over 2 million subscribers on his show. And welcome, Stephen Gardner. I know a lot of you guys know him. How are you, Stephen?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come on.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you. So I want to talk about this case. I also want to talk about the bombshell news of Letitia Big Shane James, as I like to call her, the New York Attorney General. There was some breaking news from the grand jury in Norfolk, Virginia. I want to get your thoughts on that as well. And we also have, stick around to the end, everybody. And by the way, I'm going to leave a link. If you don't know, if you happen to be like living under a rock and you don't know who Stephen Gardner is, you have to subscribe to his show. You have to subscribe to his YouTube channel. He is one of the best, if not the best out there. I'm serious about that. That's a lot coming from me. I will leave a link to his channel in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Okay, so let's jump right into it. So Stephen, I want to get your thoughts on this. So this guy right here, this is Brian J. Cole. And I want to first, this is the suspect right here. And there was a huge press conference yesterday. And I want to first share with you and get your comments on CNN's fake tapper, who actually released this video. You can see clearly on the screen what Brian J. Cole, who is apparently this guy, had been doing this for, I'm going to break down everything about what happened, but I want to just first start with this. You tell me, Stephen, what you think of this video right here from Fake Tapper, who broke the story this way, and then you can and then we can talk about it. But I want to just I want you to get your thoughts on this right here. Hold on one second.
Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged with transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce and with malicious destruction. Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C.
So you can see right there, Stephen, Fake Tapper, who President Trump has adequately coined his nickname, which I love, says he's a 31-year-old white man. Now, he didn't actually have the picture on the screen, but it seems like the fake media was so quick to call this guy a white man when clearly you can see this guy is black. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the mainstream media, the left, they always start off with certain assumptions, right? The story that they needed this to be was that an angry white male that supported Donald Trump was trying to kill Nancy Pelosi, trying to kill, Chuck Schumer, basically taking revenge on behalf of Donald Trump. Well, it turns out that that's not the case. And their brains are still kind of boggled about the whole thing. They're trying to say, well, maybe he planted the bomb, so that they would discover it right at the time that everybody was making a push into the Capitol. And so their brains are literally scrambled. They don't know what to do with this. But to come right out and just say that this is a white male MAGA supporter, a Donald Trump fan, it's really misleading. And obviously, we need to learn a lot more. But Brian Cole Jr., he fits the description in a lot of ways. His neighbors are saying that he was reclusive, that he was kind of a loner, just kept to himself. So we're going to have to learn about why he did what he did. But obviously, you can see from the picture, he is not a white male, and most likely not a MAGA supporter.
Yeah, the Brian Cole Jr. This is a guy who spent 4 years. Let me just break this down, and then Stephen, I want to share with you another video from 2023 from then FBI Director Christopher Wray. Brian Cole Jr. spent 4 years walking his Chihuahua to 7-Eleven twice daily, while the FBI supposedly hunted America's most wanted pipe bomber. Neighbors described him, like you said, antisocial loner, avoided eye contact, not exactly somebody you would think is a criminal mastermind. But although I want to ask you if you think this is a lone wolf situation too in a second. The Biden Justice Department couldn't crack the case with surveillance footage, cell tower data, purchase receipts from 8 different Home Depots, and a suspect who kept buying bomb components after January 6th. This breakthrough, Stephen, came within months of Trump's team taking over. Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, they assigned fresh investigators who actually examined evidence that had been sitting in boxes for years. They traced 3 million lines of cell phone data, matched purchase records, executed search warrants. Biden's team never pursued. The same evidence, Stephen, that existed in 2021 suddenly produced an arrest in 2025. Either Biden's FBI, I mean, you could only surmise this, I would assume. And what you see on the screen right now is the kind of the charges that, have just been made public, Stephen. And so what you could presume or assume is that either Biden's FBI was spectacularly, I mean, miraculously incompetent, or they didn't want this case solved. And I'm going to talk about a timeline here in just a second, Stephen, but I want to get your comments on this right here. So I want to share this. This is actually video footage, Stephen, from 2023. And then I want to get your thoughts on this. This is Christopher Wray back in 2023. He was asked specifically, you have arrested people who have entered the Capitol within like hours who were there on January 6th. And then he claimed that the FBI had pretty much done everything possible to find this culprit that DOJ Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Patel, and Deputy FBI Director Bongino have just put in custody. So I want you to watch this real fast, Stephen, and tell me what you think of this.
Okay. So you were able to arrest hundreds of individuals who were allowed into the Capitol, walked around, took selfies, but we can't find the individual who committed the most dangerous crime and attempted to cause multiple mass casualty events at the Capitol or around the Capitol.
Congressman, we have an entire dedicated team focused specifically on this investigation. We've done thousands of interviews, visited, again, just in the pipe bomb investigation,
Okay.
thousands of interviews, visited thousands of residents and businesses, reviewed millions of pieces of data. There's something like 39,000 video files. We've assessed like 500 or something tips. We've done extensive public publicity. We've increased the reward money. We've got our lab working on it. We've got our WMD directorate working on it. We've got our Office of Technology Division, our cellular analysis team. So the folks that we have working on this investigation are working very aggressively on it. And I, as much as anybody, would like to see it solved.
Okay.
Interesting. So what do you think of that, Steve? I mean, that's pretty damning. Wouldn't you say that it only took the Trump administration a mere matter of months, and this has been sitting around for 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, the Biden administration, you can't find what you're not really looking for. And, I have no doubt that they were probably putting minimal effort into finding this individual. But from all of the people that I have interviewed, which are many, the majority of the FBI's time shifted away from the border. It shifted away from terrorism. It shifted away from illegal immigration. It shifted away from child trafficking, raping of women, college issues. All of it was focused on finding the grandmas of January 6th. Literally, FBI agents knew if they wanted bonuses, promotions, to move up within the agency, that they needed to bring in January 6 people. So those became the big target, right? And suddenly the person who had real mechanically well-built bombs that could have killed Kamala Harris or Republicans, they're now saying the first bomb was actually planted at the Black Caucus and then was later moved to the Republican, to the RNC. So you can't find what you're not looking for. And I don't believe that they wanted this, or they did have an inkling of who this was, and it didn't fit. An angry white male that supported Donald Trump, that placed the bombs in order for people to go into the building around 1 o'clock. None of that fits the narrative. And so what do? You just stop looking, and you can't find what you're not looking for. So I think it's incredibly suspicious. But the fact that it took them 4 years to find nothing, and Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, they come in and they figure this out, according to the New York Post, in about 4 months. That's incredible.
Right.
So kudos to them for not giving up on this. Dan Bongino is a hero. Kash Patel is a hero. They've been getting a lot of crap from the American people and even the MAGA base saying these guys are fake, they lied. No, you know what? They've been getting hit with arrows in the public square because they have to keep their mouth shut so that we have, Brian Cole Jr. doesn't run off to Venezuela or Colombia or escape. So they're literally taking arrows, their reputation's being damaged. They took a massive pay decrease. And then we find out that they've just had their heads down, going to work, and boom, they end up arresting the guy that Biden couldn't find.
Very, very. I love the way you said that, Stephen. Absolutely. This is such a bombshell, and it's such a referendum. I mean, Biden and Kamala have literally done nothing. It seems almost obvious that they have done nothing right for America, that they have put everybody ahead of Americans. I wanted you, since you mentioned the New York Post, Stephen, I had this interesting tidbit of information. The father of accused DC attempted pipe bomber Brian Cole Jr. was once defended by the same civil rights attorney who represented George Floyd's family, Ben Crump, who you see on the screen right now, a nationally known attorney who specializes in racial discrimination cases, represented Brian Cole Sr. in late 2021 when the sale of the Tennessee bond business he owned was being blocked by a local prosecutor. I mean, this was a very successful family. That area of Virginia, you could see those huge houses. I actually have family that lives in Great Falls, Virginia. That's an extremely nice area outside suburbs, safe, expensive, nice, well-kept, well-maintained communities, highly affluent. What are your thoughts on this latest information of his dad being connected to somebody who is obviously someone who represents BLM and is highly controversial in his own right?
Yeah, when you said that the father had to be represented for the sale of a bomb company, I'm like, oh, whoa, okay. Hello, we're dealing with bombs. Like, I think it's just amazing what they've done. This was new information to me. Doesn't surprise me. Will they use the race card? I don't know. We're going to find out about that. But the thing that's really troubling to me, if you don't mind me just sharing like some thoughts that I've had over the last day. So I remember watching the Unabomber, and there was somebody here in Salt Lake City, Utah, that was targeted. The University of Utah, they had a bomb blow up. So they were trying to find this Unabomber, right? And the FBI had almost nothing to go on. In fact, they were looking in the wrong direction. They thought it was like an angry 30-year-old person who had access to airplane parts, right? So they were looking for like an aviation mechanic or something like that. And they start digging in, and wouldn't you know it, there was one line that gave this guy away. He had written a thesis about how machines would take over in the future. And he wrote a line, you and I here have your cake and eat it too, right? But Ted Kaczynski had written that they could, let's see, what was the exact line? Oh, that you could have your cake and eat it too. And we say, eat your cake and have it too, right? So just that one little line that he wrote, he had put that in one of his bombs.
Wow.
And so just one little line, they realized, oh, wait a minute. We're not dealing with an angry 30-year-old that works at an airport. We're actually dealing with an older man that is like genius level, philosophical, and they end up tracking him down because of this. With this, they had so much. They had a digital footprint. They had a cell phone footprint. They had camera angles. They had multiple buildings. They had the backpack. They had the outfit. They knew that he was in the area. They had the tennis shoes, really unique tennis shoes. They had a certain height profile. So they had so much more that they could go on. And ultimately, those are the things that they narrowed down. You know, they went through 3 million lines of telephone communication. They went through purchasing bomb stuff. I mean, they narrowed this thing down, and then they have just been putting this case together so that they could get the warrant and go arrest this guy. But so they had a lot to go on, and just kudos to Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and their team for not giving up on this, because this is a big deal.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts. That's really interesting, the Kaczynski parallel. I want to get your thoughts on because I would have to be honest that even myself, I have been pretty critical of Bongino and Patel and Bondi in the last 6 or 7 months or so. So I want to get your thoughts on. I want to explore that more, because you have congratulated them several times, and I think justifiably so, for cracking this case in just a mere matter of months. But before we do that, Stephen, I want to talk to you about this. So now Fake Tapper calls him white, which is insane. When he wasn't, he's not even close to white, which tells you everything you need to know about fake news media. Now they're trying to say, you see it on NBC. I'm getting alerts right now on my phone as we're recording this. Now you're seeing, Stephen, the entire corporate media apparatus is now saying, oh, this guy had questions about the 2020 election. He was MAGA. He believed in conspiracy theories. When you consider the timeline, these are the facts, Stephen. Cole, I want to just break this down and then get your thoughts. Cole started buying bomb materials in the fall of 2019, before anyone even knew about January 6th. He methodically purchased components throughout 2020, planted devices, like you said, at both party headquarters on January 5th, 2021. And for 4 years, the narrative, like you mentioned earlier, as you do intelligently, for 4 years, the narrative required, it was mandatory that a Trump supporter bomber to complete their quote unquote insurrection story. So when evidence was pointed elsewhere, for some reason, mysteriously, this investigation stalled. I mean, the FBI, you mentioned shoes. Stephen, the FBI had everything: Nike Air Max, Speed Turf sneakers, distinctive gait patterns, purchase histories, cell tower pings. Previous administration solved bombing cases with far less evidence. The Unabomber, to your point, took 17 years with almost nothing to go on. This case had HD video, digital breadcrumbs everywhere, yet somehow remained unsolvable. I want to play some video. I want to get your thoughts on that really quickly, Stephen. And then I want to play for you, because I think everybody watching and listening will be in agreement with us that there needs to be some action now that we know. And I've got some real interesting clips of both Dan Bongino and Kash Patel saying what could potentially happen next. But what are your thoughts on that now the woke media and the corporate press is now saying, well, this guy had conspiracy theories swimming in his brain. He was MAGA. He was a Trump supporter. He had questions about the 2020 election when he started buying bomb materials way before anybody even knew about January 6th.
Well, it does beg the question, was he working alone?
There you go. That's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah, because there's a couple of things. So let's take the approach of a right-wing Trump supporter, right? So here's how we see it now, 5 years later, right? All of these people gather for the Stop the Steal rally, which Donald Trump did not put together and did not pay for.
Right.
He was the keynote speaker. he shows up late to it and gives a speech about peacefully and patriotically marching to the Capitol. I will join you, right? They go down, all hell breaks loose, and nobody really understands why all hell breaks loose or why people are going into the Capitol, right? Then we find out that right around this same time, it's announced there's bombs all over Washington, D.C. The Congress people, they start to panic, right? Everyone goes on high alert. Around this same time, the Capitol Police start firing percussion grenades into the crowd. They start shooting people with rubber bullets. What happens? Everybody pushes towards the Capitol. They don't go away because the noise is from behind them. So they push towards the Capitol. Then we find out that there's not 1, 2, 26. There's hundreds of FBI people in the audience telling them, push into the Capitol, go into the Capitol. So this wasn't an organic thing where people came there because they were summoned by Donald Trump or QAnon, right? People gathered because they were genuinely frustrated and confused by this election. None of this election made any sense, right? So that's from our perspective. Why are these bombs discovered? Capitol Police is pulled off of the campus right at the same time that there's this massive push with ammunition, with percussion grenades to get into the Capitol. We've all seen the videos of people destroying the Capitol, and then we find out later that those are fake MAGA people. We find out later that grandmas are being invited in on red carpets with velvet ropes. None of them did any damage.
Pelosi from Chief Capitol son, Stephen's son, we find out from Pelosi refused the request from Chief Capitol Police for the National Guard like 8 times or something.
Yeah, they take forever to get them any kind of help, right? Okay, so that's our perspective, right?
Right.
On the left, they're trying to push this narrative that Donald Trump brought 1 million people into DC to intimidate Congress, that he gave this fiery speech that's now been debunked. He's literally suing the BBC for $5 billion for manipulating the footage and his language. They literally took like 50 minutes out of his speech, put 2 things together where he looks like he's calling for them to attack and kill Nancy Pelosi, right? So from their perspective, right, now they need, like, okay, how do we explain all these people going in so we don't have to mention the hundreds of FBI agents? How do we line up the puzzle pieces to make it look like MAGA is crazy and they're all under the control of Donald J. Trump, the Hitler of our time, right? And then how do we explain the police going away and these bombs that could have blown up members of Congress, and then they find out, oh, it's not who we think. Let's just not continue that. I know what we'll do. We'll go after the grandmas. We'll allow 400,000 children to go missing. We'll allow 100,000 people a year to be killed by fentanyl. We'll distract everyone with the Russia-Ukraine war, right? All of that's going on. This whole operation, this entire psyop was to make Donald J. Trump look like Adolf Hitler. And when the puzzle pieces start lining up to look more like our side and less like theirs, what do? They just ignore it. They let this guy walk around in his red Crocs, walk in his Chihuahua twice a day to 7-Eleven, as you mentioned earlier in the show. So you cannot find what you're not looking for.
Doesn't it sound very similar to what they did to the border over the last 4 years, Stephen? Doesn't it sound similar to what they did to Colorado, to Springfield, to what's happening in Minnesota? Just sacrificing Americans. And all for what? They are consumed from head to toe with 2 things: hatred of Donald Trump, TDS, nuclear level TDS. And as I've said many, many times, and I know you've said this too on your channel, they care more about power than they do American lives. Because we know, you and I both know, that if you put Jasmine Crockett or you put, Lydia Velasquez or Chris Murphy or Dan Goldman, or pick any hypocrite out there, I call them hippocrats because they just breathe lies. You put them in the free market, they won't survive. They can't survive. They can't compete because they don't have any skills. They're not qualified. I mean, it's really sad when you see, and this is why I think Trump, and I want to get off this because I want to move on, but just really quickly, what Trump has done is revolutionized the political arena. I don't even call him a politician. This guy is a man in the arena. He's a go-getter. He's a doer, filled in a swamp of people who don't do jack, who don't want to do anything. And they don't know who is this guy? Where did this guy come from? This is not how things work. It's literally like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, that famous Frank Capra film. You've got a guy who literally is like, why are you doing it this way? I can do it better, faster, more efficiently. And he does. And they hate him for it because of his skin color or because he said a couple of untoward things to in a press conference or what have you, or more importantly, he said the truth. And so it's really like what you said, Stephen. You've got people who literally are willing to look at Jocelyn Nungare. I look at Patty Marin and her daughter, who are literally do not care. They claim to care about Americans, but they don't give a rat's ass about Americans because you can see it by their actions. And now the sniveling snake of them all, Newscomb, actually thinks he has a chance of becoming president. He's getting absolutely lambasted, even by Halle Berry, for crying out loud. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I want to share this, Stephen. Excellent points, by the way. I love that. Here is a clip. I want to get your thoughts on this. I want to share this clip, Stephen. This is Dan Bongino, who is talking about when asked why the Biden administration didn't find Brian J. Cole, the J6 pipe bomber. So I want to share this really quickly, Stephen, and then watch this clip, and then I want to get your thoughts on this.
Is you did not find any new evidence. It was all there, had been there for the longest period of time. The only difference between you and Director Wray and the Biden DOJ is they did not prioritize it. Why? And I know it wasn't easy to solve, but you did it in 8 months.
Yeah. Sean, I don't know what the hell this prior leadership team was doing outside of, targeting political opponents, weaponizing the FBI, destroying its reputation, embarrassing agents that are doing really good work out there, catching terrorists, CCP spies and everyone else. It's almost like they were intentionally trying to decimate faith in institutions. It's horrifying. I don't know what they were doing. I can tell you what happened though when we got there, the director and I. My first meeting, I swore in, and I kid you not, probably 15 minutes later, and the people who are in the meeting know, I said, when I get in there, I want a full brief on this pipe bomber case on day one. And I looked at the case agent after getting a full brief on what they'd done, and they had done some a pretty extensive amount of work. They had chased down, I think, thousands of leads, 6,000 plus interviews had been conducted, hundreds of tips, and it still was relatively stale, the case. And I grabbed the case agent on the way out, and I said, "You're going to get me this guy. You're going to track this guy down, and you're going to find him. You're going to get me this guy. I want him." And that started what's been almost a 9-month operation right now to make sure that we could get full accountability and transparency to the American public and find this guy. And today we did. But
you know what's really interesting, Stephen, is that so even you've got the deputy director Dan Bongino saying in a very kind of mystified way, I don't know what these guys were doing. And it just lends itself, and the reason I pause is you can see him on the screen right there. It lends itself to everything that you just said, Stephen, is that was this a purposeful, intentional suppression of evidence, suppression of investigations because it didn't fit the narrative? I mean, that sounds so conspiratorial. And maybe 5 years ago, guys like us would have been put in a rubber room for saying that. Is it conspiratorial anymore? Are we nuts? Or is there any reason why they would have not been able to find this guy? Or is it just cut and dry, black and white? No. They did this on purpose because it didn't fit the narrative and it didn't fit the TDS that they obviously have.
Yeah, I saw a great T-shirt the other day that said, "I need new conspiracy theories. All mine came true."
Exactly. It's crazy. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
So, again, I don't know the inner workings of everything, but it sounds like they had made some progress. But again, it doesn't seem like they really wanted to find them, because how else did they track down 1,500 people from January 6th? But they
I mean,
can't.
it's the FBI, for crying out loud. It's
Yeah,
the
they can't find the guy
FBI.
who built legitimate bombs that could have killed Kamala Harris, or somebody at the RNC or the Black Caucus or whatever. So it's amazing to me that on the one hand, Christopher Wray, he slept peacefully at night under the blanket of, I can't talk about that because it's an open investigation. What a great way to get nothing done, right? But at the same time, you now have Dan Bongino. I just love what he said there. 15 minutes being sworn in. I meet with the case person and I tell them, we're not giving, like, this bone has meat on it, and we are going to gnaw at this thing until we find this person. And they did. And I think it's so amazing that they were able to find him.
It's awesome. And I feel like, just to kind of, I'm going to share this clip too, Stephen, because this is Kash Patel, I think, being maybe a little bit more defiant about what's going to happen after this, saying, in fact, that he's going to pursue some type of avenue of recourse and restitution. But I mean, the reason I'm saying this, Stephen, and I just feel like you and I are, I think, in some ways symbolic of what average Americans who have critical thinking abilities, when you put all the pieces together, and when you look at the disparity amongst this America First administration versus the prior administration, and I want to get into, even if Biden was even there, probably not. It was probably Obama, Soros, the Holly weirdo cult. I call it this sort of deep state cabal. I'm sure you have different names for it, or maybe the same. But it's like, the point I'm trying to make is that what was once deemed, to kind of piggyback on your beautiful quote, what was once deemed tinfoil hat kind of methodologies or theories, it's so harrowing how it's all coming to fruition. Like, literally, Trump was right. Everything they called Trump, he's crazy. He says this about the news. He says this about Iran. He says this about the economy. He says this about Obama. But it's like, literally, they're all coming true. You just have to use your brain. Our forefathers were proud of this concept called self-reliance, critical thinking, critical discernment. And I just think if you use a little bit of it, it's almost impossible not to see what's happened and what has been happening for a very long time. Thank you for that comment and that perspective, Stephen. So let's listen to this, and then we're going to move on. This is just, it's a developing case. We'll still keep you guys posted if anything arises specifically as to motive and if there are other bad actors involved. But I want to play this for you, Stephen, and then get your thoughts. Here's Kash Patel talking to Don Jr. about the case and what's going to happen next. Listen up.
Will there ever be a look back on the way, perhaps your predecessors or other people in the FBI handled this to question those methods and motives? Again, the fact that it disappeared, from the news basically the second, January 6th happened and was never brought back up again, even in the months following, it seems odd. And I mean, it seems like something that people would want answers to. Will there be a review process on how this was conducted differently? How you guys could do this, 4 years later, and in 8 or 9 months, actually come up with a suspect versus the prior administration having 4 years, a more immediate timeline, being able to go right into it, having the immediacy of that, or even the fact that they just didn't care, doesn't that say so much about the weaponization of justice in America today?
Absolutely. And I think you're going to see it on parallel tracks. What you're going to see is as this case presents itself in court, you're going to see where we were able to collect the evidence and make the case against this suspect. And then common sense journalism and investigators are going to be able to look at it and say, why did these people do X, Y, and Z 4 or 5 years ago? That's going to make itself self-apparent. But what we're doing at this FBI is also, we have replaced this entire leadership cadre. We have pushed out 1,000 agents into the field. There's a reason this FBI has 25,000 violent offenders arrested this year alone. That's twice as many as last year. There's a reason that this FBI is going to deliver President Trump the lowest murder rate in modern history by double digits. There is a reason this FBI is out there crushing fentanyl, destroying narco traffickers, and making sure the homeland is safe and preventing spies from infiltrating our homeland and our way of life. That's what happens when you change leadership from the prior administration FBI, who wanted to weaponize and politicize law enforcement, to us, President Trump and the Attorney General, who want to just deliver law enforcement on every single front. And that's what we're doing. So you're going to see it in both lanes.
What are your thoughts on that, Stephen?
You know, Megyn Kelly said something interesting. She said, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, they don't believe that they're politicians. They genuinely believe that they are law enforcement, which is why they're getting so much done, right? Where I think Christopher Wray, like, he kind of liked that he got the jet and he was the top guy, and he had the cover of them saying, well, of course he's not undermining Trump. Trump put him in, right? Like, just all this lies that we were fed. But they've done so much good, and they're going to continue to deliver. But the main thing is, and I said this earlier, is whatever carrot or piece of cheese you dangle in front of a mouse, that's what they're going to chase after. And the reward at the FBI became find the January 6 people, right? And the reward that was taken away is find the guy that could have blown up buildings and city blocks. So you get the reward that you are putting in front of people. And I believe that Kash Patel is saying the goal going forward is law enforcement, justice, and getting criminals off the street. I believe that he wants to make America safe again, and he's working like a dog to make it happen.
I love that, because this is what I wanted to allude to earlier when I was saying that I was critical of these guys. What you've done, Stephen, see how amazing the great Stephen Gardner is, folks? I was one of these people, and the reason I'm bringing up the picture that you see on the screen right now correlates to this. I have been frustrated with this DOJ. I've been frustrated with Kash and Dan, especially some of their sort of media blitzes and interviews and presentations, and specifically what Kash Patel said on Rogan's show a couple of months ago about the Epstein files. I was a little bit kind of, my sort of skeptical antenna was sort of buzzing violently. But what you just said, Stephen, you kind of reinvigorated, and I hope everybody listening and watching maybe feels the same way, that these guys are really working their butts off, and they're doing the best that they can. I can't imagine, when I was working in the public sector as a professor, the amount of red tape and administrative BS one had to go through to get anything of import done, Stephen. I don't know if you've ever worked in the public sector or for government. It was a nightmare. I can't imagine what it's like in an intelligence agency with the kind of impact and magnitude as the Department of Justice, the FBI, and more. So, I appreciate what you just said, and I hope more people can see that. And I'm trying my best to give them the benefit of the doubt. You're much more, let's put it this way, Stephen, you're much more patient than I am.
Well, I mean, I have my frustrations too, right? But I was privileged to be able to interview Kash Patel 4 or 5 times. I took him to be an honest person who genuinely wanted to get the government gangsters out. And now he's been put in charge of the FBI. And I look at Dan Bongino, prior law enforcement, prior Secret Service.
Right.
At the same time, the guy gave up making $5 million a year doing a podcast to now work 16-hour days away from his family. And he's just getting hit over and over again about not doing enough. And the reality is, in order for him to have a big bombshell story like this, they have to remain quiet. It's the same thing with President Trump. He just has to put up with the media crapping all over him. Like, think about the Iran thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's giving him a hard time about Israel and Netanyahu and Gaza and Iran and will he go to war or not? And behind the scenes, they craft this plan to destroy Iran's nuclear weapon facility without a single casualty in the dark of night with multiple stealth bombers on a 21-hour mission where these American heroes silently flew a plane with zero communication for 21 hours and then hit something on the ground with a bomb the size of a building on a mini fridge that would hold your beers for the weekend or something like. So anyway, my point is like, I just know that at some point we have to give these guys time to do stuff. Do I want it to move faster? Hell yes, I do. But like, the fact that they got him is huge. And a lot of people should take a breath and go, okay, maybe there's more to this that I don't understand, but this was a big win for Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Donald J. Trump. And we're going to take every win that we can and celebrate them.
Love it. Perfectly said. Well said, Stephen. Okay, let's move on to this because this is a little bit of a letdown here. We have some breaking news. A federal grand jury in Norfolk, Virginia has just refused, Stephen, to indict Letitia Big Shame James for her, what I call blatant. I mean, it's obvious. I looked at all the evidence, blatant mortgage fraud. And so I want to get your thoughts on this, Stephen. What do you gather from this? And I want to share this. When I say blatant, this is just one of the residents where she declared that she was wife to her father, Robert James, for all the purpose of saving on property taxes and getting a more favorable loan. Everything that she claimed to purport and launch against our president, she did it herself. What are your thoughts? I mean, do you think we're ever going to see justice for people like Schiff and even Eric Swallowswell has committed mortgage fraud? It seems like if you look under a rock and there's a Democrat, they've committed some sort of crime. Anytime you investigate these guys, is this a pattern? Is this the norm? Is this what we can come to expect? Or are we too soon on this and there could be even more coming out? Or what are your thoughts?
So I was disappointed to read this, and I don't think that this case is done. But it is disappointing. But there's more evidence against Letitia James committing fraud than there was the January 6th pipe bomber.
Right.
So, I mean, this is like 1984, ignore your eyes, ignore your ears kind of garbage, right? We all see it for what it's worth. At the same time, these cockroaches in the Democrat Party, they will do everything in their power to lie and cover up. I've been having private communications with Sam Antar. He's the guy that bringing Letitia James down. He's frustrated, but he remains resolute that something big is going to happen. So this might be a loss right now that gets picked back up. I mean, the state of New York, where she's committed even more fraud, they haven't even played their hand yet. So
really, hey, Stephen, really quickly, I love that because I don't think a lot of maybe my audience, or just in case, Sam Antar, because he broke the story with the evidence, right? Can you give a little background sorry to interrupt. Can you give a little background on Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. He's this funny little Jewish guy in New York. He's not a big fan of Donald Trump. He didn't vote for Donald Trump, but he saw what happened with the weaponization and the lawfare. And he also saw that Letitia James was committing fraud, and that hypocrisy and that fraud just really bothered him. So he started digging in, and he had gone to jail for being a white collar criminal. So he's like, I know how these criminals think. So he literally put this case together and handed it over to the FBI on a silver platter. He
Right.
then put the Virginia case together and handed that one over. I mean, this is such a slam dunk. The biggest problem is, as I mentioned, the Democrats will go above and beyond to cover up their corruption. And right now they feel like they've got momentum with the Comey thing and with the Letitia James. And so they're going to do everything they can to cover up for Letitia James. But I have a feeling this story isn't over just yet.
Good. I hope so. I hope not, because like you said, it seems like every single time we find something, every single time something comes up, and it seems like what you said, a slam dunk. I mean, I did an entire, series on this, really breaking down everything that Sam Antar actually presented, as well as other sources. And it was so unbelievably, this has been like a 30-year crime ring by Letitia James going back to the 80s, committing mortgage fraud. And the irony that this is the same thing she launched against Trump and essentially lost because they reduced the sentence and dismissed it practically. And it was a sham trial. Every legal expert, I think it gives it more validity, because even Dershowitz, who I know you've had on your show, claimed it was a sham trial. But Sam, who's not even a Trump fan, is I think that adds more validity to it. He's probably a Democrat, probably voted for Kamala if he's a funny Jewish guy from New York. I know a few of those. L'chaim. Anyway, no, but like that, I think that adds a little more significance to it, that, hey, this isn't partisan. I'm not some sort of, MAGA guy or what have you. I just see corruption, and this is the truth.
Yeah, notice they never bring Sam Antar up. It's always, this is Trump getting revenge, right? Because it wouldn't look good if you have a guy that didn't vote for Trump and doesn't like Trump taking down Big Tish James, right? So again, New York hasn't played their hand yet. She committed way more fraud in the state of New York. They may not be done with this down in Virginia. She obviously committed fraud. So we just got to be patient while the wheels of justice move forward. But hopefully they get her, because again, there's more evidence on this than the J6 pipe bomber.
Right. Okay. Last but not least, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Stephen, but this is I agree with you, by the way. I hope that there's more to come from this. I want to get your thoughts on this. This is a viral video of an Afghan and Iraq combat veteran who literally feels betrayed about what's happening. It's one of the most powerful videos I've ever seen, I can honestly say. And I just want to get your thoughts on this. Hold on a second. I want to try to get this a little bit better cued here. Anyway, I'm going to play it for you in just a second and then get your thoughts on this, Stephen. This is one of the most powerful videos I've ever seen. Have you seen this video yet, Stephen?
I have not.
Okay, check it out.
I just got done listening to Ilhan Omar talk about how horrible and terrible and dirty and everything else that this country is. Denigrating this country, denigrating half of the people in it. This country has been very kind, benevolent, and gracious to her and countless others. We gave her asylum. We gave her a place to live. We gave her an education. We gave her a pathway to become a sitting United States congressman. But to me, it goes deeper than that. See, I'm an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. I was 22 years old when those planes flew into those buildings, and me and thousands of other young men across this country answered the call to go over there and combat this evil that was on our shores, that had finally hit us. And what we were told over and over again is that we go over there and we fight them over there, we will not have to fight them here. And now here we are. We're retired. We're out. We're ready to start pursuing a life of our own. And what does this country do to that enemy that we went over there and we fought to keep over there, because that's what we were told? We kissed our families goodbye. I watched my wife cry while I got on that bus to go to the airport or go to the airfield. I watched my son cry because he didn't know if or when he was going to see me again. And then I come home. I've been retired for 8 years. And I come home, and what are we seeing? We're seeing entire communities being taken over by the very people that we fought to keep off of our shores. Dearborn Mission is completely freaking taken over. Now we have mosques in Minnesota, Texas, Missouri, all over the country all over the country promoting Sharia law. Do we really have to tell people that Sharia law is incompatible with the United States Constitution? We were told that if we fought them over there, we would not have to fight them here. But what do we have? What did you do? You elected it mayor of New York. You gave it Senate seats in Minnesota. Now I want you to turn around. I want you to find an Iraq and Afghanistan veteran somewhere around you, and I want you to look them in the eye and tell them why they should not feel betrayed. Do it. I dare you.
Wow. Stephen, thoughts?
I mean, he's spot on. I didn't go overseas, and it pisses me off. I can't imagine the anger. Some of these people, they lost brothers in combat. The guy that had their 6 didn't make it home, right? And then to see somebody come into our country and say that America is a piece of crap, that it doesn't do enough to have like over 80% of a population on welfare, literally milking and abusing the American taxpayer. Then we find out that instead of children in Minnesota being fed, that they were shipping hundreds of millions of dollars to terrorists in Somalia. We found out that instead of conquering the autism program or problem that most Democrats don't want to get answers on, they were literally faking autistic children to steal $400 million from American taxpayers. And what did they do with that money? They shipped it over to terrorists in Somalia. So yeah, it makes me very angry. But what they've done is they have imported people from American kindness. They've imported them to this area. And then what happens? Those people that live off of our money keep voting money out of the treasury. Why would they vote for anybody that's going to make them work? Why would they vote for anyone that's pro-America? They literally are Somalia first. And they're stealing our money. I don't work 80 hours a week to pay money to the government to have it stolen and sent to terrorists. So on a financial level, I can understand why this guy's mad. But these military men and women that went over so that we didn't have to fight that here, they lost family members, they lost memories with their children. That dude didn't get to read his child to sleep because he was taking bullet fire overseas. And then, I get it. I get why.
I love your energy. This is the most passionate I've ever seen you, Stephen. I love it.
Yeah, apparently you hit a nerve because it's really bothered me. And you know what? This is something that bothers me, and maybe it's not politically correct, but when I see a military person say, I fought for people's right to burn American flags, I don't know why. That just gets under my skin. Because if I was in the military, I would say I fought for Americans. I didn't fight for someone's right to burn my flag, the flag that I pledged my life to, that I sacrificed my family for. So yeah, these little things, they really bother me. The fact that Ilhan Omar is still in power is really weird to me. Pramila Jayapal, I mean, the whole squad, they're just like, I don't know if you remember this, but Pramila Jayapal, Presley, AOC, all of them, they were all trying to get free rent for their voters during the pandemic. Oh, just throw it onto the landlords. They've got plenty of money. Meanwhile, those guys are like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. The government's literally forcing this burden on me. I still got a mortgage payment. I still got insurance payment. So yeah, no, I get it. I get why this veteran's mad.
Yeah. And maybe he could have been even madder, I mean, he was actually probably reserved, wasn't he? Stephen, I love everything that you just said. I think there's many different ways you can protest the government without burning the American flag. Too many people have died, sacrificed. This is the greatest country on planet Earth. If they claim to, you hear people like Ilhan and others, even this mayor and the city council member, if you guys are so proud of your culture and you're so proud of your customs, your traditions, what the hell are you doing here? Why are you here? With not to take advantage and leech, which is being exposed under the thumb of Tampon Tim. I mean, literally, it's the biggest tax fraud in American history, in the billions. Stephen, what's happening? I know you've talked about this. What's happening in Somalia? We could talk about this for 7 hours. So what's going to happen is, Stephen, we have to have you come back on. So we got to get you back on the show, because this has been an absolute blast. You know, I was only planning on doing 30 minutes. We've been here for an hour. So this has been a fantastic time, my friend. I'm so happy that you were able to do this. Honored to have you here on our show. I want to let everybody know in the comments and in the watching this and listening to this, that if you don't subscribe, if you don't follow Stephen Gardner, I'm going to leave a link. Follow him on X. Follow him everywhere you can, but you got to subscribe to his YouTube channel. It is one of the best out there, the most honest, truthful, straightforward. He always backs up everything he says with receipts. I'm going to leave a link in the pinned comment as well as in the description. Stephen, is there anything you want to say before we go off the air?
No, I want to just tell people, continue to have hope, continue to believe in America. America is not a perfect country, but it is great. I have lived in third world countries. I have traveled outside of America. America is a blessed nation, but it only remains blessed if we continue to fight for it. As Ronald Reagan said, we're only ever one generation away from losing these incredible American freedoms. So just keep fighting, keep believing, keep voting, keep sharing this stuff. You know, Professor Nez and I, we come on here every day and we try to bring the truth. So I appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you follow, subscribe. And as always, may God bless you and may God bless the USA and all who defend her. We'll see you very, very soon.